going on, guys? 6:02 Eastern Standard Time, evening hours of Tuesday, January 27th. We will be live on The Collective in under 2 hours' time. Cole Jackson, Jeff Zaribek, and myself. Hope you'll join us there on YouTube and subscribe to that program if you haven't already done so. This episode tonight's brought to you by my friends at FanDuel and my longest-standing sponsor here inside the channel. That is the folks at Preston Automotive Group. Scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner if you're in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle here in 2026. Some ridiculous Bill Belichick news just came down the timeline. He is going to be left off of a first ballot Hall of Fame honor. Just ridiculous. We'll get into that in just a bit. You thought Lamar Jackson being snubbed a couple of years ago from NFL MVP was bad. This is astronomically worse. We'll get into that in just a bit. But did the Ravens just lose out on one of their potential offensive coordinator candidates? I'm going to explain to you why I think that's a legitimate question that they might be asking themselves, and that certainly the fan base is probably asking itself right now at the moment. And then with Joe Brady's internal promotion, meaning from offensive coordinator in Buffalo to the head coach of the Bills, who is the top target right now in Baltimore? All that and more coming up. Appreciate you guys for being with me. There's a guest line access link pinned in my live chat, and it's really only got one person in mind. And I'm looking at one person at the moment. And his handle is @FumbleFlock. That shit's pinned in the live chat for you. And let's see if you can take your loud ass mouth and put a little money out there for the taking. 90 seconds on the clock. The floor is yours. I got time tonight. And I got time to talk about this. Joe Lombardi, after a few years serving under Sean Payton in Denver as the non-primary play caller at offensive coordinator. He's been there since 2023. He has been fired. Of course, they lost in the AFC Championship game on Sunday with no Bo Nix in a heck of a blizzard-like condition in the second half at their home stadium. Crushing loss for the Broncos. Patriots go on to play in Super Bowl 60. And such is life in the NFL. Changes come quick. And that's exactly where the Broncos are heading right now. Now, how does this relate to Davis Webb? I'll tell you. Davis, of course, is the pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach for Sean Payton. He's been in that role just for one season. Prior to that, he was the quarterbacks coach for Bo Nix the previous 2 seasons. And I guess Bo was only there for, when was Bo drafted? I feel like I have to do a quick little, was this his second year that he just finished up? Let me refresh myself on what draft class he was. Yeah, okay. This was just his second season. So Davis worked with him as the quarterbacks coach his rookie year, and he was still working with him this year, but his title was elevated to offensive pass game coordinator. We spoke about him a lot. Played his college football at Texas Tech under Cliff Kingsbury in the air raid, and then transferred to Cal for his final season at the collegiate level. That was in 2016, and then he was a third-round selection by the New York Giants in 2017. Hung around the NFL for a little while, began and ended in New York with the Giants, and then immediately hopped into coaching, and he's been on the fast track ever since. So much so, the Ravens interviewed him initially for their head coach vacancy, but because there are legitimate reports out there that they were kind of looking at it twofold, that interview process, meaning the offensive candidates that they spoke to, it could have very well been about offensive coordinator visions, depending on who they went with. At the time, they didn't know, or maybe all along they knew it was going to be Jesse Minter. Anywho, to me, this sets up for where I'm going with this is Joe Lombardi is gone. He is out in Denver. And one way to keep a huge name, a name that is on the come up, if you will, in your program, if you're Sean Payton, is firing your offensive coordinator and promoting Davis Webb. Now, that would come with perhaps, depending on the way in which Davis Webb views himself right now as a candidate in his career arc, would he need more? Because Sean's the primary play caller at head coach, as he always has been, from an offensive standpoint. He has complete control of his offense. Would Davis want to go and find an opportunity where he could be solely the full-time play caller? Or in one of the handful, I think 3 at this point, the 3 head coach vacancies that remain around the league, does he still consider himself in the running for any of those? What are we down to now? Raiders, Browns, and Cardinals, I believe, is where things stand because, again, Joe Brady, as of earlier today, was promoted from within. By the way, Brian Daboll, who had been a candidate out there for offensive coordinator and head coach, he's going to Tennessee to be Robert Saleh's offensive coordinator. So he chooses Tennessee, Cam Ward, Robert Saleh over Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, and the Philadelphia program. I found that to be interesting. So that is that. Again, the Bills hired Joe Brady. I'd have to think that Josh Allen had a major hand in that decision. It's a 5-year deal. He's going nowhere, and they got quite the staff that's forming there. Because take a look who's going to handle the other side of the ball for Joe Brady. According to Schefter, Broncos defensive pass coordinator Jim Leonhard is expected to be a leading candidate to become the next DC for Buffalo. So depending on who they land on from an offensive coordinator standpoint, I don't know what Joe Brady will choose to do. I'm sure there's reporting out there on that. I just haven't followed it because I've been so pressed on following the Ravens candidates and everything related to their news cycle. But I don't know how much of the offensive coordinator role, if you will, that's been assumed and handled by Joe Brady over the last couple of years will continue to be handled by him at the head coach role. Will he evolve into more of a CEO type, or will he continue to call the plays? That remains to be seen. So anyway, the reason why I bring all of this up is pretty simple. I think the Ravens board, let's call it a big board from a draft standpoint, at offensive coordinator, I think that board has one less name on it. Because if I'm Sean Payton, I'm doing everything in my power to keep Davis Webb in my program. He's quickly become one of those guys that you want in your building and has a tremendous level of experience and rapport with the quarterback position and with the quarterback of their future, pending a healthy recovery after that fractured bone in his ankle for Bo Nix. He's not going anywhere. And I'm with you, Fumble. Jim Leonhard's the real deal. And if he lands in Buffalo, that's a heck of a staff that's forming that Jesse Minter is going to try and counter. And I think Jesse's doing a good job so far. Don't get me wrong. Mike Mickens, universally believed to have led and built the nation's top secondary at Notre Dame. You bring him in to be your defensive pass game coordinator and your DB's coach on paper, assuming that he transitions to the NFL level where he's worked with the likes of Sauce Gardner during his time at Cincinnati and Xavier Watts at Notre Dame and a couple of upcoming players as well. There's a lot to like about that hire. Dwayne Ledford, universally recognized as one of the top, most respected offensive line coaches out there. A lot of experience. The track record to boot in Atlanta with a great run game. Outside zone connoisseur. Like there's something to like here about Jesse Minter here early on in his first full week as the Ravens head coach. But the big elephant in the room and the domino that's yet to fall, and I just got a note on how funny is this? I'll get to this in just a second. But the big domino that's yet to fall, obviously, is who will be primarily working closest with Lamar Jackson and lead them into this new wave, this new era of offensive football in Baltimore as the play caller for the Ravens. That remains to be seen. I'd like to think that based on today's news, if I'm a betting man, it won't be Davis Webb. Now, I was just speculating a minute ago. What's Joe Brady's role going to be in Buffalo? Well, Mike Garafolo, NFL Network. You ask, and he gives you an answer. He's reporting that Brady will continue to call offensive plays as the new head coach of the Bills. A plan for continuity for Josh Allen and Buffalo's offense. I got to tell you, this is good news for the Ravens. You want to know why? Let me pull this up on the screen so we can react to this instantly, because this does affect the Ravens in my mind. Get to the guest lines here in just a second. You want to know why this affects the Ravens? You better believe that Buffalo is a pretty attractive job. You want to be on that staff just the way that all those coaches, those potential candidates, want it to be the head guy at the helm in Buffalo. That's an attractive job, just the way that it is in Baltimore. But if I'm a candidate out there with experience, if I'm a candidate out there that's young, up and coming and whatnot, I want to go somewhere where I can be the guy. And if this report stands true, then who's he luring over there? Somebody that's looking for his next shot. Somebody that would be okay to sign up for this type of deal right here that isn't a full-time offensive coordinator. Now, this is a great segue here because Declan Doyle, as we discussed at length earlier today on the Vault, became the new candidate, if you will. And it's hard not to put a correlation there between Joe Brady's hiring and internal promotion in Buffalo and Declan being requested to interview. He's the pass game coordinator and offensive coordinator. Well, excuse me. He's the offensive coordinator who's the non-primary play caller in Chicago. Ben Johnson calls the plays. And so while Declan's title is offensive coordinator, he's not a full-time play caller. So that's very naturally brings you to the question, well, what are your responsibilities as an offensive coordinator who doesn't call the plays on a full-time basis? He talked about it.
Season, we'll start to really hash out exactly what the responsibilities are. The biggest thing is we got to get a jump start on the tape, me and the rest of the staff. So we'll get a jump start on it. We'll start to prepare the game plan the way he would have when he was the coordinator. He's going to be handling some other responsibilities. And then when he's able to kind of transition back over to play caller, we have organized, the thoughts on how we're going to attack this defense, what kind of plays we want to run conceptually, and then, who do we need to feed the ball to? How is this defense going to view us from, what we're doing, and really set the table so that he can walk in and there's work already done, not he has to start from scratch. So the biggest thing is we're trying to save as much time for him as we possibly can. And obviously I'm spearheading that. I'm trying to orchestrating the rest of the staff, but we got to use our resources to try to make his life not as easy as possible, but just try to set him up for as much success as we possibly can.
That was Declan Doyle over the summer prior to the first season that he served under Ben Johnson, which he just completed in Chicago. That was with Ari Mirov in an August conversation. And as I dug more and more into Declan and his career and what he was able to do successfully with Chicago this season, I think it's the best way to summarize it is that he pretty much did everything besides call the plays. And that's what Ben Johnson did. Pete writes in with a super chat saying, Davis Webb won't call plays there, unlike here. It's simple. Yeah, and I referenced that earlier on. And again, Pete is talking about tonight's breaking news, which is Joe Lombardi being shown the door after a few years under Sean Payton in Denver as their offensive coordinator, a non-primary play calling offensive coordinator. He's been fired. And so I've been led to believe, or at least wonder, whether or not that is a simple internal promotion for Davis Webb. And if Sean Payton thinks highly enough of Davis Webb, which he's on record for saying and believing, would he be willing to delegate? Would he be willing to give up his primary play calling duties? This is Sean Payton we're talking about here. Would Davis Webb have taken the points on Sunday? Is it too soon for that? Would he have taken the points? Oh, God. By the way, can you believe the analytics? According to Greg Olson, the analytics told you to go for it there in the first half when he opted to go for it. And they came up short instead of taking the chip shot. Anyway, Goose Lex writes, Ingstrand is highly respected by Ben Johnson. Who's Ingstrand? I'm not familiar with Ingstrand. Who is that? Tanner? Oh, he was just fired. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. He was fired by Aaron Glenn as they continue to just wipe out what's left, anything that's left of New York staff. This is what my pal Jake Asman's been covering all day. Yeah, Tanner Engstrand was fired today. I believe I saw that as the Jets offensive coordinator. He spent one season under Aaron Glenn, and it was a disaster. Young, well, not as young as some of these other candidates, but 43. He's been all around the NFL. He was in Detroit before this season with the Gents as Dan Campbell's passing game coordinator. So I did see that. What is Aaron Glenn doing exactly? What the hell is going on in New York? I'll be catching up with Jake about that on Radio Row next week in San Francisco. Thanks, Goose Lex. JGY Rowe says, preparing the game plan, then learning what did and didn't work from Ben Johnson has to be a great experience. Wish we got Ben Johnson last year. I like the potential there. Oh, I think Bears people like the potential there after what he did. They were inches away from playing for an NFC championship game. And the guy might be a little neurotic. The guy might be a little intense. But one thing he does well is call offensive football. And the development of Caleb Williams was undeniable this season in Chicago. But as for the Ravens concerns, Declan Doyle, who they've requested to interview, that was the reporting from last night. Ben Johnson talked about his offensive coordinator earlier this month.
He's done a phenomenal job this year. He's everything I thought he was going to be and some. He's got tremendous presence in front of the players, extremely smart. He's picked up the offense quickly throughout the spring and camp and has been able to augment to it. We got such a strong coaching staff from the coordinators to position coaches to some of these young coaches as well. They're going to continue to ascend, and I think the future is bright for a guy like Declan. Hopefully we can keep him here for a long time, but I know he's been an asset to me. He's been an asset to our offense and all these players as well.
So if you guys are in need of getting fully caught up to speed, Joe Brady was promoted today in Buffalo. He's going to be the next head coach, Sean McDermott's successor for the Bills. He's been their offensive coordinator. Prior to that, he was the quarterback's coach. He and Josh have a wonderful rapport. Makes sense. That's their decision. Because they're going to allow him to continue to call the plays, I wonder who is best served as offensive coordinator. This just affects the entire candidacy list across the board. As far as what today's stream is about, if you're tuning in late, the Broncos, Sean Payton and company, just fired their offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi, and I'm wondering if it's fair to wonder and fair to say that Davis Webb may have just got taken off of several boards that he's been on as a potential candidate for offensive coordinator, knowing that Sean may not want to lose him, given the importance and the role that he's played in the tutelage and development of Bo Nix, given his past experiences at the NFL level, and also on top of that, at the collegiate level, and widely respected and known as a fast riser. Would Sean be willing to delegate? Would he be willing to give up play calling duties? I have no idea. But it's just an interesting conversation to be had, knowing that the Ravens had a level of interest to make both Vance Joseph and Davis Webb a priority initially in their first week of interviews. And since then, Davis has been a candidate all across the country with various vacancies. That's what tonight's show is about. I appreciate you guys for being with me as always. Take a look at Declan's resume, or at least what he helped accomplish this year, offensively speaking, for the Bears, led by Caleb Williams, led by a really successful rushing attack. Look at where they ranked across the league. They were 9th in yards per play, 2nd in total plays run, fewest with giveaways. They were clean. They played cleanly. Remember, this is a team that Tyler Snoop Huntley beat this year. I'm old enough to remember that one. 6th in first downs, 3rd in rushing yards, 7th in total yards per game, 3rd fewest sacks allowed. Across the board, they were a successful, efficient offensive unit, led by Ben Johnson, led by their quarterback, Caleb Williams. And hey, give Declan his flowers as well, because he was involved as an offensive coordinator, and you already heard the kind words from Ben Johnson from one of his press conferences earlier this month. So that gets us fully up to speed in terms of the candidacy, in terms of some of these candidates, and whether or not the Ravens just lost someone on their board. And is there a direct correlation with Joe Brady being hired, which I'm sure got around with agent circles and NFL circles last night, announced today? And is it related to the Ravens submitting a request to speak with Declan Doyle? We'll learn more on Thursday. Maybe we'll learn more over the next 24 hours or so. Maybe they'll make a hire before 11:30 a.m. on the 29th of January, which is Thursday, and that's when the introductory press conference goes down in Baltimore for Jesse Minter. So, yeah. Now, NYCE7182 is asking, why would Declan make a lateral move? It wouldn't be a lateral move because theoretically, he'd come to Baltimore to be a first-time play caller and a full-time play caller. He is not either one of those in Chicago right now. It's Ben Johnson running the show. Just to be clear on that, just in case you guys missed it a couple minutes ago. Let's open up these guest lines. Your thoughts on Davis Webb, your thoughts on what's happening in Chicago with Declan Doyle, your thoughts on where the Ravens candidate list stands right now. You can call in and click the link that I have included in my pinned comment in the live chat. And funny enough, it's so funny about the vocal crowd out there. Typically, they bark the loudest, but there's absolutely zero bite. And that is Fumble Flock to his core. That is the epitome of Fumble Flock. I'm looking right at you, little boy. Q, we're coming to you in a second. FanDuel continues to sponsor the program, and I'm very appreciative. Don't get these types of opportunities that span all throughout the year. In this case, all of 2026 without you guys, without my audience base. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you guys for being with me tonight. Sportsbook.fanduel.com. They always got their same game parlay bets that they're promoting tonight. But as for the NFL and as for what's coming up in less than 2 weeks in Santa Clara, Super Bowl 60, it's the Patriots, it's the Seahawks. Seattle, understandably, 4.5-point favorites. Just a ridiculous defense. Sam Darnold playing out of his mind, the game of his life on Sunday night. Over-under set at 45.5. You got some NBA odds to consider ahead of tonight as well. If you're a hooper, go check it out. Gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER. Appreciate them for the continued support. And I'm looking forward to get out to San Francisco, man. I'll tell you that. I am jacked up for the opportunity to get to Radio Row. This will be my third time working the event. It is a who's who. It is always a phenomenal networking opportunity. I'm already in touch with Kyle Hamilton's people about setting up something. Next week, he'll be out there promoting. I think it's Toyota. I can't remember what he's doing specifically. But I'm hoping to, as always, like we did in New Orleans last year, like we did in Vegas the year prior, get as many different voices, names, and faces, both inside the vault, both here inside this channel, and have ourselves a hell of a week. If any of you are going to be out there in Santa Clara, in and around San Francisco, looking forward to the best week of the year from a professional perspective. And with that, let's open up the guest lines. Q, you ready to roll, brother? 90 seconds on the clock for you. Welcome to the program. The floor is yours.
Yes, sir. What's up, Bobby? Listen.
What's up, Q?
Man, if you want to make Lamar mad, hire Greg Roman. Hire Greg Roman. But listen, in all seriousness, if you think about, I forgot who it was that made the report, but think about it. Kingsbury would have been hired by now if it was Lamar's decision to bring in Kingsbury. And you look at this, why are you holding out if that's Lamar's decision? So it's two things that I'm thinking about. Either Lamar is out, which is, I would hate to have it, or either their report was wrong about him wanting Kingsbury in the seat.
The way I interpret the report, I'll say it again, like we said last week. I think that was relayed from Cliff's representation. Diana shared at the time. And I think I'm not going to go as far as to say that it's got no legs to it and it's completely inaccurate. I just don't know if he's their top candidate. They may feel that way about multiple candidates. Maybe they felt that way about Joe Brady because remember, They didn't cancel his visit the day that they announced the hiring of Minter.
Right.
So, but to your point, Cliff is the only true free agent out there. And if they
That
wanted him,
has NFL experience. Right.
he probably would have been signed by now. So I think it's a
Right.
fair assumption to assume that he's not the top guy. Doesn't mean that he's out of the race. Thanks,
Hey,
Q.
appreciate it, Brian. Have a good one.
You got a hell of a sound room over there. Where the hell are you at right now?
I'm in the house, man. I
yeah.
sing, so I got a little studio situation.
Hell yeah, you got yourself a little setup there. Thanks, brother.
All right.
Appreciate you, man. I got to get me one of those. Damn. Over 1,300 concurrents and counting on yet another busy Tuesday as we just are stacking days. Anybody want to know what we're doing? We're just stacking days. We're stacking weeks. January has been a complete and utter blink of an eye. February 1's right around the corner. That's the day I fly out to San Francisco. Steve Loop, how are you, my friend? It's good to see you. Welcome in, Steve, father of Tyler. Hope you're enjoying your offseason, the Loop fam. Guest lines are open. There's a pinned comment right now in my live chat. You want to call in and share a thought with me. We're about 90 minutes out from the collective premiering. I'd imagine that Jeff, it will be very insightful tonight. He broke the news last night of Dwayne Ledford. Dwayne Ledford is expected to be Jesse Minter's offensive line coach, a respected person all throughout the NFL, did really good things for the Atlanta Falcons over the last several years. The outside zone expertise is interesting when you have Lamar and Derek in your backfield for the foreseeable future. And knowing that they got a lot of contributions from what was a banged up couple projected starters went down for the Falcons this year up and down their offensive line, and they still played well, and they moved bodies, and they were a top 10 rushing offense. Now, again, I know it. Bijan is a freak of nature, and that might be as much of a Bijan stat as it is a Dwayne Ledford stat. But you certainly can't get much worse than what you were getting up and down the offensive line for the Ravens in a group that regressed overall collectively. Was it terrible every single game? Has it been overreacted a little bit? Yes. And no, it was not terrible every single game. But it was one of the lead components, one of the lead contributing factors as to why Lamar could not get himself right throughout the meat part of the season, including, that opening third where he just missed a month and couldn't quite get himself to where he needed to be physically when it was all said and done. Guys, like the video on your way in if you could. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or a gift-giving membership. We're talking about a number of things tonight and tying it all back to the Ravens. And I'm wondering tonight if Joe Lombardi being fired in Denver as he was just within the hour, Broncos offensive coordinator under Sean Payton, means that it just makes too much sense not to promote. How can you not promote Davis Webb, I guess is the question that I have tonight. If you're a Denver Broncos, if you're in a position of leadership for the Broncos, he is a sought-after candidate, whether it be at head coach, offensive coordinator, or both. And the Ravens probably had interest in OC, I would think, and maybe still do. What's up, KP? Kobe writes, I like the idea of Declan, but I feel uneasy about a first-time play caller for a veteran like Lamar. We need someone that he'll respect from the jump. Sean Payton respected him enough to bring him to Denver after having him in New Orleans all those years. Declan is 29. He's the same age as Lamar. That personality dynamic and relationship would have to be dissected and studied and evaluated and closely looked at, which of course they'll do. And Lamar will have his level of influence in this ultimate decision. Declan got his start at Iowa, where he went to school. And I noticed that he and Tyler Linderbaum followed each other on social. So for whatever that's worth, I mean, Tyler's not guaranteed to be in Baltimore, as we all know. There was actually some smoke out there today. I saw some CBS writers were predicting that he land in San Francisco on a nice deal. I think that'd be a mistake for the Ravens to let him go. Franchise tag him before you let him walk out. He's that important. He's not the most important puzzle piece to what they do offensively, but he's damn close. I think the world of him. And I know I'm not going to put him in a box either and evaluate him on what happened this past season. When you're playing to the right and left of what he was dealing with in terms of substandard guard play this season, I'm going to give him some grace. Tyler's a Pro Bowl caliber. I stopped myself on that one because Pro Bowl means jack shit. I told you, see? For those of you following along in the Discord, what I tell you earlier, I'm going to stop myself ahead of free agency. Do not evaluate a player based on his Pro Bowl resume. So how about this? I think Tyler Linderbaum is one of the top centers in the game. I think he's deserving of top center money. I won't go down the Pro Bowl route, though. That's a crutch that I'm not willing to stand on or lean on. Okay. 90 seconds on the clock. And because I am on the clock, Mr. Gift of Gab, driving around right now, 90 seconds on the clock. Not that I don't want to hear you talk all the day, because you never bring nothing else besides straight insight into my channel, and for that I appreciate. But we got the collective. Tilly needs my love, and I got to get some dinner. So 90 on the clock. We go to Dre Dog. Appreciate you guys for being with me. Guest link line is pinned to my live chat. Floor is yours, brother. Good to see you.
What up, man? How you feeling?
What's going on?
Good, man. I don't know why, man. I've been kind of hitting this left field idea of an offensive coordinator. I know ain't nobody nobody's gonna like the idea, but what you think about Chris Hewitt? I dropped it in the Discord too. But what you think about Chris Hewitt? 2024, he was the pass game coordinator for the Ravens, as well as the assistant coach to the team. And of course, we know that was a historic year for Lamar Jackson. Well, for quarterbacks, period. I know that he has a little bit more of a defensive background and mindset, but I think, like, and I know people he's under the Harbaugh tree and all of that, but Chris Hewitt was with the Ravens for a long time, and he's done a lot of great work. If you look around where he was positioned at with the Ravens, the position groups, and even being the assistant head coach, like, we did numbers wherever he was at. So I know that's out left field, but I've been kind of looking at some names, and I keep seeing in my mind also for the defensive coordinator, do not sleep on Navarro Bowman. I think he might pop up as a potential name for this DC job, especially considering that Mentor is probably going to call his own plays anyway.
Appreciate you, brother Dre. Thanks, man.
All right, brother.
I'm going to react to that
Take
right
it easy.
now because, look, to your point, what's interesting about it is that Chris was involved with the Ravens, and there was some overlap there when Jesse Minter was there. So while my first gut reaction is that I remember rumblings that Chris didn't exactly leave on the best of terms, and so it'd be easy for me to get up here and speculate that ship has sailed. But because it's a new program, because it's a new head coach, and because Jesse's going to have a lot of say in the way that his staff rounds out, I won't rule that out. I just remember, and I just wonder how much weight this has, and maybe it is more rumored than factual, but I don't remember Chris Hewitt leaving on the best of terms. Now, he spent a lot of time in Baltimore. He was on the Super Bowl staff in 2012. That's how far back Chris Hewitt's time with the Ravens goes. He was the DB coach, guys, from 2012 to 2019. He was the pass defense coordinator from 2020 to 21. And then the pass game coordinator and secondary coach from 22 to 23. And then to Dre Dog's point, he did get promoted to assistant head coach, pass game coordinator, and secondary coach in 2024. And that wasn't a great season for, obviously, the secondary at all. Whatsoever. At least during the first 6 weeks or whatever it was. 7, 8, I can't remember. What was it? 10 weeks? 8, 9 weeks? What was it this year? It was the first 6 weeks this year, first 5 weeks this year, first 10 weeks in 2024? Whatever. They were terrible defensively for chunks of the season, back-to-back years. And I shouldn't say solely under his watch in 2024, but that happened in 2024. It was Zach's first year as defensive coordinator. So it'd be easy for me to say that. I got to think about it more. But because there was overlap, and again, Jesse was in Baltimore from 2017 to 2020, or right around there. Well, let me be thorough tonight. It's either 2017 to 2020 or 2018 to 2020. The former, 2017 to 2020. And that overlapped with Chris. So we'll see. In a roundabout way, we'll figure it out real quick if there was a rapport there, if there's interest there, as Jesse starts to put his staff together. Guest lines are open. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. My Timber Shivered says, I get the thought that Lamar has to respect the offensive coordinator. Absolutely. We are putting too much into the age thing, though. If a dude is younger, doesn't mean you can respect him. McVay was 32, making Cousins millions. You referring to Declan Doyle or Davis Webb? Is that your point here? I'm guessing you're talking about Declan, who's 29 years old. Lamar is also 29, and we spoke about this earlier, that he became the latest candidate that the Ravens have requested and put a slip in. And he works under Ben Johnson in Chicago. Thanks, Timber. Kobe writes, I am more confident with the McVay tree for offensive coordinator. I believe that's English for Nate Scheelhaus, who's still in the running for Cleveland's head coach vacancy. Does anybody want Cleveland's head coach vacancy? Does anybody want to be the next head coach of the Browns? Anybody? Stephanie writes, just want to say thanks again to you and Sarah for all your helpful insight and expertise over the few weeks. I've enjoyed it. Great job. Stephanie, you are always uplifting. I appreciate you for that. Thanks, Steph. Thanks for being with us tonight. You've never missed an episode. You've been on quite the tear. Thank you. ADL21 says, guard play didn't make Linderbaum force a fumble on Lamar in Kansas City. Just saying. He had a down year like everyone on his own. I think that's a little unfair. You're putting it all on Tyler? You know how much is on Tyler's plate as the centerpiece, pun intended? I'm willing to say, based on his previous track record, pretty good sample size, that this year was more about Lamar being out and the subpar play at both guard positions, right and left. I wouldn't write him off. I'm not saying you are, but Super Chat's kind of coming across a little bit as if you're writing off Lindy. I think he should be a priority extension. Not above Lamar, obviously, but a priority extension right behind Lamar. Kobe writes, Cleveland will get a league-appointed head coach at this point. At this point, they should just, exactly, KP. It should just be, you know what? We're going to go traditional here. We're going to find your spouse for you. This is going to be an arranged marriage, KP. That's what we're getting to now at this point in Cleveland. Let's get back to the waiting room while we're at it. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. Scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner if you're interested in working with Preston Automotive Group on a new or pre-owned vehicle in 2026. Moses, you ready to go? If you are, turn that camera on. Happy to have you on. Oh, my man's on the move again. My father called me. I'll just have you know, Moses. My father called me last night and was like, that was one of my favorite guest call-ins of all time. He called you from Nebraska, from the highways of Nebraska. And I told him, I said, you're damn right. It was one of my favorite call-ins as well. And he's back for more. Moses, on the road, 90 seconds on the clock. Great to have you back, my friend.
What's up, brother? Thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, I'm actually in Salt Lake City now. So
Jesus.
now I'm calling from Salt Lake City. So
hell yeah.
But yeah, man, when I'm behind this wheel, man, all I have is just time to think. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I've been thinking a lot today, man, about Davis Webb, and I saw the Joe Brady hire going to Buffalo over there, so he's got that job locked up. I don't know, man. I just think when you first had that poll out after Jesse Minter got hired, you put out a poll saying who do you think is going to be our next OC, and you had Kingsbury there, Davis Webb, and a couple other guys. Joe Brady was one of them. I can't remember the last guy, maybe Scheelhaus, but I actually voted for Davis Webb, and I thought he was going to be our OC, and that vacancy is still open for him, but Davis Webb, with offensive coordinator being gone in Denver, that he possibly could be hired there. But I feel like if Davis Webb had a choice between being a full-time play caller in Baltimore or mixing it up with Peyton over there in Denver, I think he would take the Baltimore job all day, man.
Maybe, brother. Safe travels out there. Thanks for the call, man. Moses
Thanks,
on
bro.
the move. Yes, he is. You know, that he makes a really good point about Davis, because now that Lombardi's gone, Sean may have a decision to make. How do you keep Davis Webb around your program, assuming that you want to, when you're going to have teams like, theoretically, the Ravens being like, hey, we're bringing you here and you will lead the show offensively. Like, we're giving you your first legitimate opportunity to call the plays. It is solely in your hands. Your move, Sean. How are you going to make that gig a little bit more attractive? You going to slap an assistant head coach title on Davis's name and be like, hey, listen, I'm still calling the plays here, but I'll make you assistant head coach to give you a nice raise. It's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. It really will be. Hey, so we're being thorough, too, in terms of kind of catching up. But before we get back to the guest lines, I just want to make sure we're following every single candidate that we've covered over the last several weeks. And one of those is Anthony Campanelli, who just finished up his first season in Jacksonville as the defensive coordinator under Liam Cohen. You know, the guy from the Hard Knocks, Sylvester Stallone, unreal Jersey accent. Yeah, he and Grant Udinski. Grant is one of the youngest offensive play callers in the league. Offensive coordinators, rather, in the league. Udinski and Campanelli have agreed to terms. They are going to remain in Jacksonville. Guess who's actually the youngest offensive coordinator? Declan Doyle. Declan Doyle. So, as we continue to follow the laundry list of names and candidates and faces that the Ravens have spoken to, just keep in mind, Campanelli is staying in Duval. Just because I teased this at the top and haven't gotten to it yet, and I won't spend too much time on it because these Pro Football Hall of Fame voters should be banished forever. The 10 that chose not to vote for Bill Belichick on their first ballot. 8-time Super Bowl winner. He is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. He fell short of the 40 out of 50 votes needed for induction into Canton in what became his first year of eligibility. Those voters who decided to not go with Bill Belichick should be revealed and should have to withstand the blows, because this is pathetic. It's really an indictment against the Hall of Fame. It's an indictment against these voters. And it's a black eye. It's a black eye for the institution that is the Hall of Fame. It's not a good look at all. You thought the Lamar Jackson MVP snub was bad a couple years ago? This is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. JJ Watt says, I can't be reading this right. This has to be some knockoff Hall of Fame or something. It can't be the actual NFL Hall of Fame. There's not a single world whatsoever in which Bill Belichick should not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So again, whoever didn't vote for Bill needs to be revealed. And they should do it themselves. They should make it known themselves, because it's a joke and it takes away from the integrity of the system and the process. John Harbaugh is screwed. if this is the criteria, I love you, John, but you are in trouble, my man. You better go win right away in New York. It's an embarrassment. You're right, Steve. It's the credibility of the system and the integrity of it. It's terrible. And I wish John Harbaugh and Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy and all these one-time Super Bowl winners well. Good luck, gentlemen. Good luck. Does Andy Reid have enough credentials to get in? Or do you need double-digit amount of Super Bowls? Maybe it's double-digit. Guest lines are open. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. Let's get some super chats before I get back. I see you, Nick. I see you, Manny. My Timber Shivered writes, if Harbaugh goes to New York and flops like I think he will, how long before people say that Harbaugh was propped up by talent and general managers? What would it take for Bobby to say Harbaugh was a fraud / overrated? I don't know. I hate this question because it's impossible to have this conversation and way too premature. Also, Timber, I love you, and thank you for the super chat. I think you're putting me unfairly so in the Harbaugh apologist camp, of which I am not. I was months ago in the camp of it's time for change in Baltimore, and I called it such. So don't put me in that camp. I do think that he is way too disrespected by some members of the fan base and underappreciated. But that doesn't take away from the fact that things had run its course. The game mismanagement and clock mismanagement and fourth quarter collapses were undeniably poor and substandard, which is why Steve Bisciotti called them out point blank in his press conference. He held on to Greg Roman for too long. He made the wrong decision with Zach. And there's some personnel decisions that were made over the years, like right guard, like the decision to let Kevin Zeitler walk, that I don't know who to fully point the finger on, but that were the wrong decisions and that they failed on. I think you can play that game with most coaches around the league. Same thing with general managers. And typically, there's a fair share of blame to go around across the board. So I guess to answer your question, what would it take for me to call him a fraud or overrated? I don't think I'd do that regardless of what happens, because his chapter's over in Baltimore. So we'll see what happens in New York. They got the quarterback to win right away. John's going to try and go and now be tasked with attempting to do what Vrabel's done in 1 year in New England, what McDonald's done in 2 years in Seattle. We'll see if he's capable of doing it. He's trying to bring a lot of people up there with him to keep the framework intact. Special teams coordinators, medical teams, quality control coaches. We'll see if he can do it. You got skill position players on the offensive side of the ball that leads you to believe that they can bring Monk in there. They can get Neighbors back healthy and Scatabo healthy and convince Jackson Dart to protect himself. That I think they'll have a chance to be a wild card team. I think that's their ceiling next year. But we've seen stranger things happen. Stephanie is back with another super chat. And she writes, been watching you guys a lot and also waiting for my second grandchild to be born anytime now, following the death of my husband last April. God is still good. Oh, man. Stephanie, I am so sorry about that. I'm so sorry to hear that. It hasn't even been a year. Man. But to your point, with new life coming in as you await your second grandchild, I know it can't, replace the loss that I'm sure you feel with your life partner no longer being by your side, at least physically, spiritually, always, forever and always. But man, there's something about being able to pour your heart into a second grandchild, which I'm sure you're going to do. I don't know you, but I feel like I do. And I feel like you are extremely nurturing, a phenomenal caretaker, and you got a lot of love to you. That's that's the way you remind me of my grandmother in a lot of ways, just by the super chats that you leave. I'm not pretending to know you, but your profile photo too makes you feel like you have a warmth to you, a nurturing side to you. Thank you for sharing that. And God bless your late husband. Guys, if you could show me a little bit, show Steph a little bit of love for us in the live chat, will you? Everybody band together. Trosseteers unite. Nick, what's up? What's up, brother? 90 seconds on the clock. A lot of things to discuss tonight. A lot of coordinator shuffling going around. And, of course, the latest. Whoa, Timber just threw a 20 spot in there. Hey, now. We got some Bobby Baltimore memberships going around. Hang tight, Nick. Hang tight. You may have just been gifted one. You never know. And I got to go I got to go update from Bobby Baltimorean memberships to Trosseteers. Can we get some Trosseteers in here, please? We need Trosseteers. I got to go do that on the back end. And Timber Shivered is letting Stephanie know that this is for you. Man, this is where you just stop. You get a little choked up because the community here is second to none. Timber says, hey, that 20 spot, which just randomly gifted membership to my audience for your viewing pleasure and your commitment pleasure, was for Stephanie's husband, courtesy of Timber Shivered. I mean, this is the stuff right here that a lot of times we see this in the offseason, right, on the vault with that crazy trend. Remember that like several month-long stretch where there was just, you get a membership and you get a membership and you get a Voltron status. Timber Shivered's bringing that kind of love in here tonight, and it does not go unnoticed. So salute to you. I'm leaving this up here as I bring Nick on the channel. 90 seconds on the clock, brother. Lots to discuss tonight. The floor is yours.
Hey, Bobby. Thanks for having me. Just to let you know, Bill Polian led the charge for Bill Belichick not getting in to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The other thing, too, is, there's two names that I don't hear for OC. T. Martin should get a look. He's got a great relationship with Lamar. I feel like him with the new O-line coach that's, supposedly, could do the run coordinating, that would be a pretty good tandem. And then I would love to see just a guy that Lamar respects a lot in, Teddy Bridgewater. Like maybe if he's not going to play anymore, Teddy loves coaching and he has a great respect from Lamar. So it's somebody like that I would like to get because of the fact that I feel like we need somebody that's going to connect with Lamar. And don't be surprised if Dion gets that Browns job.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine that? I mean, just a total shit show if that happens. I saw that was being discussed today on First Take, which, of course, First Take is spending airtime having that discussion. But Nick, you bring up a good point about T. Martin. I'm going to talk about it right now. Appreciate the call, my man.
Thanks, man.
Safe travels out there tonight. And, of course, tonight's show is about Davis Webb and Joe Lombardi being fired as the OC in Denver, which now kind of leads everybody to believe, or at least myself to believe, that Davis Webb could very well be an internal promotion, a no-brainer for Sean Payton. Does Davis want more, though, assuming that Sean wouldn't relieve himself of play-calling duties? That remains to be seen. As for T, he did an interview last week with a New York-based outlet and basically said, hey, in terms of his future, there's a new staff coming in. I'm waiting by my phone. Is he kind of waiting in the wings here? Is he the sleeper candidate? Is Lamar ultimately going to sign off on T. Martin, somebody that he spent the last several years working with in a very close capacity? Another first-time play caller, right? Let me look up T's resume real quick to get freshed up. I don't think he has NFL play calling experience before, does he? He began with Baltimore as a wide receivers coach. That dates back to 2021. Okay, he's got collegiate play calling experience. He was the OC at USC from 16 to 18. But to be quite honest with you, I have to go back. Was he the primary play caller there? I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. Maybe you guys can help me out in real time right now because I don't follow USC football like that. So it would be his first NFL shot, much like it would be a Davis Webb's first NFL shot or a Declan Doyle's first NFL shot. So, interesting. That is very interesting. Big Dog says, if those 10 voters are on the left politically, then Bill and Harbaugh are not getting in the first ballot. Just saying. Yes, I think we know where Harbaugh and Belichick stand politically over the years. Certainly Harbaugh, I know where he stands with his White House visit, which, did that get any attention this past summer? Just a little bit. Thank you, Big Dog. By the way, if you're just tuning in, Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, according to voters who apparently have a little bit too much influence and say. That's dominating the NFL world right now. Mahomes says, insane. Don't even understand how this could be possible. Touche. Stephanie, in response to Timber's shivered 20 membership gift that he put out, which, by the way, I'm seeing a lot of green in the live chat, which is awesome to see. I see a lot of you have been pleasantly surprised with now green font attached to your name, which I always love. Stephanie writes, thank you all so much. I'm deeply moved. This will be my first grandson and family of all girls. This will be my first grandson and family of all girls. Husband and I were together for 42 years. 42 years. A lifetime and a half, Stephanie. Can only imagine how difficult it's been these last, 8-9 months at this point. So we're with you here. I got 1,700 concurrents at the moment. And I'd have to think that the majority of us are with you in our virtual presence, if you will. And hopefully you find something and find comfort in our community here, especially when you got great people like Timber Shivered showing some love around and paying it forward. So 42 years. Give it up, chat. I love it, man. This is moving tonight. Really, really moving. Feel like we know you, right? Feel like we know you, Stephanie. That's kind of what it getting that kind of energy tonight, especially with the outpouring of chats that are coming in right now. Very, very moved by this. And clearly Stephanie is as well, who says her husband was the ultimate Ravens fan. Very cool. He'd be excited about this new era of Ravens football, I'd have to think. I see a couple guys in the waiting room that are excited about what's to come as well. I think they're excited. We'll go down to Mexico, 90 seconds on the clock. The floor is yours, Manny Mania. Talk to us.
Before the 90 seconds, a moment of silence, for Steph's husband.
Okay. I'll give you. Okay, hold on. Let's pause that, and you can go ahead. All yours.
Yeah, please chat. A moment of silence for Steph's husband, and prayers for the new grandson. It's sometimes life is like that, and you never know when it's your time. So 42 years, that's a blessing. That's literally a blessing. To be that, because it means that person actually loved you, because so many marriages, if you look it up, when COVID hit, just ended because they were, it was just convenient. But now to witness that, so prayers, Steph, and okay, you can run it now.
I was going to say, Steph, there's not many people that I would extend a 90 seconds for, but I think that was deserving. So thank you for doing that. 90 on the clock. Floor is yours.
All right. So in the next 24 to 48 hours, we're going to see if we get Webb or if we get Mike Ditka's nephew. I don't know. It keeps telling me, I've been researching it, and it keeps telling me that it might be possible, but there's no confirming, neither by Chicago, neither by Ditka's family, nothing. Okay. So it's up in the air. On the other hand, what happened with Bill Belichick? I don't think it's just more so political. I think it's because of the years after Brady. They saw the real Belichick. And I think they think in their head of like, okay, if this is the real Belichick, what years was Tom Brady the guy and what years weren't Belichick's? I think that's their reasoning, but I don't think so. Because still, they both deserve the Hall of Fame as the first ballot. Regardless of how Bill's head coaching career ended in a disaster, yes. But hey, he brought stability in that regard, and very high stability for the Patriots, for an organization. So still, for that matter alone, give him the Hall of Fame as the first ballot. I don't know what was the reason, and I hope we can get a reasoning, because if we don't, I don't know what to say.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. There's some things that are inexplicable, and this is one of them. And I think those voters, to Manny's point, should not only reveal themselves, but reveal their reasoning, because there is no valid reasoning. The only knocks that I can think of that, again, do not cancel out the amount of Super Bowls that he's won, are being frozen out of back-to-back hiring cycles from the NFL, the black eye that's been his significant other, which has nothing to do with football, nothing, zero, politics, nothing to do with football. I'm not even saying that's a reason. I know you guys were chatting about that earlier. I have no idea what that's the reason. And I wouldn't even put it in my top of reasons. And then what have you done for me lately? I thought they failed at properly developing Mac Jones. And you heard it here first, man. Do not be surprised if what Sam Darnold's done these last couple of years is mirrored by Mac Jones if he gets himself an opportunity coming up. Because Mac showed me something in San Francisco this year, and I hope he gets another opportunity because he was not set up for success in New England. Other than that, and what he's been after Brady, which again, yes, it says more about Tom than it does Bill. And yes, you are nothing without your quarterback. We've seen that time and time again for years. What the hell kind of ground do you have to stand on to not make this guy the all-time greatest, a first ballot Hall of Famer? It's ludicrous. There is no reasoning. Zero. Gooselex says it's Polian being a cornball and because of Spygate. Is it, Bill? Where are you guys getting this? I haven't seen this yet. Oh, here we go. Oh, wait a second, Lex. A reporter by the name of Matt Verderam. Is it Verderami or Verderam? SI Now, NFL staff writer. I just spoke on the phone with Bill, but this is 27 minutes ago. I just spoke on the phone with Bill Polian and asked whether he was an influence on Bill Belichick being snubbed by the Hall of Fame. His quote, that's totally and categorically untrue. I voted for him. That puts that to bed. And another really sweet message from Stephanie, who writes, you guys are making me cry. Thank you so much. He died of cancer that he fought for 15 years. Now let's go Ravens. Stephanie, you are a class act. What a proud member of our community. I'm proud to have you in this community, Steph. And clearly you are not alone. If you haven't figured that out by now, I hope you have. You are far, far from being alone. Bucket Bomber, you ready to go? Finally get a face to the name. You've been dropping super chats like no tomorrow. Appreciate that. Jimmy Johnson's ripping the Hall of Fame. Everybody, the Hall of Fame's getting torched right now. I don't even know why we're talking about it. I guess it's the biggest story in the NFL. But from a Ravens perspective, the fact that Davis Webb might be off the board to me is significant. Very significant. Bucket Bomber, 90 seconds on the clock, brother. The floor is yours, man. Welcome to the program.
You got me reinvigorated to be a Ravens fan, watching your stream after the move, 18 years, and we've finally got something to cheer about again for the fans that have been laying dormant for the last 5 years. In fact, it started for me in 2014 when they blew that 28-14 lead in the playoffs in Foxborough. I knew we had a problem with the head coach from there on out, and I kept supporting the team, and this is our time now. Anyways, we're talking about the offensive coordinator. I don't feel like we're getting a lot of hot trails. So I'm starting to think, okay, who are those mystery guys that we interviewed? They said 16, and then we heard 20 from DaCosta. Were there some college guys? And I'm looking in the tree, Charlie Weiss Jr. He is the son of Charlie Weiss, who Jesse Minter coached for in his first job at Notre Dame. That would be one name that I would throw out there. And also Lamar Jackson, being a fan of Clint Kubiak. If you wanted to go down that rabbit hole, you could look at Clay, potentially calling plays for the first time if he did come to Baltimore. You could also look at Jake Peets, who coaches underneath Clint Kubiak in Seattle. Or if you wanted someone with Super Bowl pedigree, maybe you could talk old man Gary Kubiak into coming back. And or one other wild card, because you wanted somebody with some Super Bowl pedigree to help Jesse Minter. I know it wouldn't be likely, but potentially John Gruden to call plays.
Boy, Bucket Bomber, you make a couple great points there in terms of the candidate count. We did not know it to be 20 until DaCosta had a social media post about that last week. Thanks for the call, brother. Appreciate you. Great stuff. That's got me thinking, who are these 3 or 4 candidates? We knew of 17, right? So if we knew of 17, that means there's 3 candidates remaining out there that remain unnamed, at least to the general public. Who could it be? And is one of those T. Martin? I wonder. You'd think T. Martin's representation would be out there. I kind of like what Bucket said about the college ranks too, because college, you actually don't want that reported throughout the interview process because of the NIL, transfer portal, and recruiting. So he brings up a lot of interesting points there, and color me intrigued. Guys, if you haven't already done so, I'd love for you to join the Discord community. It is a growing community, and we're coming up on 1,300 members. When you join, and I just updated the pinned comment to reflect the free access link, you get a shout out. We're up to 1,239 members now, and we talk a little bit of everything, including Bobby After Dark, which is a combination of things that, who knows, maybe you don't want nothing to do with. But there's football chatter in here. Who knows who's going to show up right now live in their Discord community. This happens every single time I do a screen share. But there's always chatter in here. There's always commentary. Way2V is typing right now. Maybe he's in the live chat simultaneously Discording it. And the Senior Bowl content's starting to come out as well from Mobile, Alabama. So would love for you guys to join. It's not just football chatter. It's across the sports world. It's a great like-minded group of Baltimore sports fans and beyond. Please join by clicking on the link that I have included in my show notes. There's also one in the live chat, and I'll just drop one in if you can't see the pinned comment from wherever you're at right now. Guys, if you could like the video and subscribe tonight, I'd appreciate it. You can hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member, although many of you are. Many of you are, after my timber shivered, was showing the love tonight, which was very, very appreciated. If you're in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle this year, would love for you guys to consider using Preston Automotive Group and their wide network of dealerships and locations all throughout the DMV. There's a couple different offers that are out there for the taking for you as a Trosseteer. One of those is a $500 credit towards a new or pre-owned vehicle at any one of their dealerships or locations. And number 2 is when you buy 4 tires, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. As you can see, you can fill out this information if you'd like to learn more. Select your specific dealership location. Take a look at all the ones that you have to choose from, including Preston Ford West, which is the one that I use when I'm back home in the Baltimore area off of Liberty Road in Randallstown. And maybe the most fun part about the website, which is really easy to use, is scrolling through the 3,950 currently available inventory vehicles. Check them out. Search by make, model, or keyword. Give them a call, 410-673-7171. A special thank you to Preston Automotive Group for my longest standing sponsorship opportunity that they've given me these last couple years. And thanks to Bucket Bomber Win, who just chimed in with a great call. And on top of that, left a super chat and became an official Trosseteer. Bucket Bomber Win says, Weiss, last Ravens offensive coordinator hire was Monken. Georgia also. Okay, he's looking at Charlie Weiss Jr. I like these like hidden candidates, these sleeper candidates, because there could very well be a couple sleeper candidates that make their way into the conversation here in the coming days as Jesse Minter continues to put together his first-year staff as the next head coach of the Ravens. I think we're fully caught up to speed, guys, and I am 50 minutes out. Count them, 50 minutes out from starting the collective tonight with Jeff Zarebek and Cole Jackson. Are you guys subscribed yet to the Ravens Collective? We're coming up on 5,000 subscriptions. Or excuse me, I haven't checked in a couple days, apparently. We have surpassed 5,000 subscriptions. Thanks to you guys. Appreciate that. We got content coming up tonight. It's at Ravens Collective in the YouTube space. It's also available in the audio-only world. I'm going to go ahead and drop this into the live chat right now so you guys can consider subscribing if you haven't already. A lot of you already have, which I appreciate. Ashley's thanking My Timber Shivered for her gift membership. I am as well. And again, tonight will be all about Jeff's insight as our Ravens insider in terms of his discoveries and findings on how Jesse Minter is handling the materialization of his first-year staff in Baltimore. Join us tonight, 48 minutes out from doing it, coming up on 6,000 subscriptions. Appreciate you guys. Shelly's going to go eat and get ready, which I appreciate. Do whatever you guys got to do. And as always, I hope you'll connect with me this offseason across my various social media platforms. On Instagram, you can find me at Bobby Baltimore. The O in Baltimore is a 0. On Twitter, you can find me at the same exact handle as well, at Bobby Baltimore. Been creating a lot of content over there, following this coach search, following this staff hiring as much as I possibly can. And for those of you that like to donate in a non-super chat manner, you can do so through Venmo or Cash App. Nothing is ever expected. Anything and everything beyond appreciated time and time again. I want to say a special shout out to Stephanie and her late husband. Really an honor to have you as part of the community here, Stephanie, and thank you for the super chats. My timbers shivered, along with everyone else who gave super chats today and just simply commented and tuned in. It goes a long way. When you support our brand sponsors, it goes a long way. When you just simply show up and do things like liking the video, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, spreading the word, it goes a very, very long way. So a salute to Stephanie, a salute to My Timbers Shivered. It's a salute and a whole lot of love to everybody involved here with my channel. Thank you all. And I will join you tonight inside the collective as I co-host with Jeff and Cole, and we keep this marathon month going because I got more left in the tank, folks. And we're just getting started. Thanks to FanDuel, thanks to Preston Automotive Group, and thanks to each and every one of you for making this possible. Love you guys.